Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Ways Guys. I'm Daniel, and here with me today is Gabriel. And today we have a special guest, Lee, with Junk Removal Authority, or JRA. Lee, welcome to the podcast.
Glad to have you. Glad to be on here. Thanks for having me.
So Lee and us have been working together since 2019. Lee,
2019, 2020, they've been
2019,
doing our
2020.
SEO, Google Ads, and they did help us with the website.
with the
Oh, yeah.
website as well. So Lee, tell us a bit about JRA and then yourself, and what do you do?
Yeah, so JRA's been open since 2018, but the story really goes further back than that. So I'm a home service operator originally, still am. I founded a company in North Carolina, Junk Doctors, Junk Removal and Hauling. We operate in 3 different markets. The original one was Raleigh, then we went to Charlotte, and then hit Greensboro. So that's a company with, I think we're running 16 trucks now throughout those 3 locations. So it's
Wow.
pretty sizable. And in 2018, we had built at that point what was about $1.5 to $2 million company. Decided, hey, do we want a franchise or do we want to kind of go a different route? So we went the route of providing marketing and kind of consulting services for the junk removal industry. We've been doing that, what, now 8 years? And along the way, we began doing some work for dumpster rental companies too. There's a lot of junk removal companies that also offer dumpster rental services. So we started working with you guys. I think you were probably one of our first dumpster rental companies, and you've been with us since almost the start. And it's been kind of a really good relationship. So I just came from a home service background. We learned marketing, all the best practices around marketing. I feel like that gives us a good advantage because we're not just looking for things that drive traffic to a website. We're looking for things that drive business and actually lead to book dumpsters or in our case also some junk removal jobs.
Whenever we started with you, we had no idea. We started with another company before we started working with you, but with no idea what's the ROI should be and what does really optimize your sales and how do you become visible in this age of online. Everybody's looking on Google. Everybody's looking these days. It's AI also AI driven. So what's for somebody that already has a company for 5 to 10 trucks, they have not used Google Ads. What do you think they should start with? You guys obviously analyze their website. What do you guys they should start with as far as ad spending? Do you analyze that? Do you give them an idea of that's where we're going to start and that's the return you should expect?
Yeah, and so in terms of ad spend, it's often dependent on where exactly your market is. But before you actually look to get to ad spend, Google Business Profile is such a big thing. So just making sure, ideally, there's a couple things you can do right when you start your business that you may or may not have done. But in the case of dumpster rental, if you actually have dumpster rental, in your name, that's or at least dumpsters, that's a big advantage because that's a big ranking signal. And the second thing is if you actually have a real physical location. So proximity is a huge ranking signal for Google. So a lot of people they don't actually have that physical space. It's a little less common in the dumpster world because oftentimes dumpster companies do. But I want to reiterate it's important to have that. Now, one thing we do see in the dumpster space is they will get a location that's kind of like in an industrial district or maybe a lower income, lower priced area. And that works okay operationally, but ideally, if you can actually find an area that's closer to a lot of the customers that are actually going to be searching. So if you guys are looking for residential, the types of clients that you'd like to have on the residential side, you would ideally be within 3 to 8 miles of those places. Now, again, with dumpster rental, it's maybe not quite as critical as junk removal because you do get a lot of commercial clientele as well. But if that's the clientele that you want, whatever clientele that you want, you need to ideally be located within 3 to 8 miles because that proximity signal is huge. If we turn towards Google Ads after that, in a market like Atlanta, you're probably going to need to be spending at least $200-300 a day, like where you guys are, and that's probably minimum. If you're in a less competitive market or even a suburb of Atlanta, if you're moving kind of further out and you're not trying to compete in the whole area, you might be able to get away with as low as $100 to $200 a day. Most of the customers that we have or the clients we have with JRA in the dumpster space are spending anywhere from about $150 to $350 a day, and we have some outliers that are spending, upwards of $1,000 a day.
So to put it into perspective, what kind of ROI do you expect to get out of this kind of spend?
When you first get started over the first 60 days, a lot of times it's going to be lower than what happens once it's established. Once it's established after the first 60 days and things have stabilized, what we kind of see to shoot for is 3 to 5x. Now, there's a few things that are actually going to allow you to get that. And let me back up. When I say 3 to 5x, that's actually 3 to 5x of what your ad spend is. There are a few things that are going to affect your ability to get that. We were talking about the Google Business Profile before. Having a GBP with a good amount of reviews, and when I say a good amount of reviews, some of that is comparative, just depending on what other competitors in your area have. But generally, if you have at least 150 reviews in the dumpster rental space, that's a good number of reviews. And if you can have a 4.7, 4.8, 4.9 rating, that's really positive. So what happens is when people find you on Google Ads, a lot of times they then search for your company name. So they might originally find WG Waste by searching for dumpster rental in Atlanta. And then they find your page, they like your page. Well, the next thing they often are going to do is go back to Google and type in WG Waste, Atlanta, Georgia. They'll go down to the Google Maps listing and they want to see your reviews. If those reviews check out, if there's enough and it's a high rating and you've got a good profile, they'll often go ahead and reserve a dumpster at that point. So having proof of the work that you do is really going to help out your Google Ads. So that means if a company's new and their GBP profile isn't well established with a lot of great reviews, their ROI is going to be lower. But once they can get about that 150 review mark and have a high rating, then that's when you'll start seeing, that 3 and 4x, maybe 5x return on ad spend.
So the Google Ads and then the SEO, those are the two parts that you guys work on, right? The SEO, how long does it take for the SEO on the website to start really work, so you can show up within the first, second page on Google? How long does that work? Depending on the market, of course. Atlanta is more competitive. There's way more competition here. If you say Waco, Texas, there might be 3 companies
Right.
all together, and you're on the first page even without doing any work.
Yeah, and this is where my background in like a home service industry helps answering this question too, because there's really two parts of SEO. One is for home service companies and dumpster rental companies is much more effective than the other. So we keep going back to GBP here, but the GBP listing moves a lot faster than traditional organic SEO. Google Business Profile, like Google Maps.
It's like Google My
Yeah,
Business,
so
when
maps,
you
your
see your
reviews.
reviews
Yeah,
and
so
you
your
write
Google
down your
Maps
address.
listing. So when you get that set up, if you're a brand new company, it still might take 3 to 6 months, and you might have to get 50 reviews before Google is going to start flirting with showing you in the top 3. But once you have that established, you got about 50 reviews, you've been around 3 to 6 months. As long as your website is set up with some of the best practices that Google looks for, and like the contact information throughout the web kind of matches up, you should start showing in the top 3 in a small radius around your physical location. Again, it's really important you have a real address here that meets Google's verification. Over time, as you get more reviews, as you respond to those reviews, as you add more pictures to your Google Maps listing, you make sure it's just fully set up, then you can start increasing the radius that you rank in top 3. Google Maps moves a lot faster. So if a company comes to us and they've been open for a year, but they haven't really spent a whole lot of love on their Google Maps, and they already have 50, 60 reviews, they could, potentially come to us, get started. We'll get in there and we'll optimize their Google Maps listing. We'll make sure the website is set up like it needs to be. We'll make sure all the information matches across the web. We'll start posting regular content on that page. And I mean, within 2 or 3 weeks, you oftentimes are seeing improvement measured by a heat map. So everybody can get a heat map showing where they're ranking in little zones all the way kind of across their service area. Most Google Maps rankings, you get like 3 to 8 miles from your physical location is where we shoot for you to be in the top 3. Now, there are some companies that are 10 or 12 miles, and that's all dependent on how many competitors are located around you, and how competitive the market is. Now, so that's the first part, local SEO, and that's really where the majority of the attention should be for a service company and a dumpster rental company. The second part is going to be on your regular old-fashioned organic SEO. And a lot of agencies, marketing agencies that don't have the background, that have actually been a home service operator, or just are trying to kind of trick people into thinking that they're getting better results than they are, will take a look at the old-fashioned SEO, so beneath the maps, your regular organic listings. And what they'll do is they'll do a lot of blog posts. And blog posts can bring in traffic, but what they'll do is they'll do general blog posts like, how does dumpster rental work? And what will happen is you might generate a bunch of web traffic, but it won't be in Atlanta, Georgia. So if they're going to run those blog posts for how does dumpster rental work, it needs to be specific for a particular area or like a suburb like Peachtree City or something like that that's kind of in and around your area. That moves a lot slower. So the blog post, just making sure things are optimized, getting links, so local relevant links. An SEO company can build links, but one of the best things people can do right off the bat is just join Chamber of Commerce's for a few $100 a month, get some local relevant links back to their site, and that'll kind of build things up. But the thing with regular organic SEO to think about, only about 20% of searches nowadays are going there. So you don't necessarily want to put a ton of effort into that regular organic unless you're very, very close to ranking well, and unless you've maxed out your Google Ads and kind of maxed out your GBP. Most focus needs to be on the local SEO, that Google Maps listing.
Okay, I think people will have more questions and they can contact you directly. We'll list your information, the JRA information, so you can answer them, because a lot of things you said did not register with me. So I think it'll be the same with people that'll be viewing
100%.
that.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing we might look to do is we can actually set up a webinar, and if people want to come in on a live YouTube session or
Yeah,
a live webinar, then we can actually go through and talk about both of those subjects.
That's a good idea. One of the practices that we've been doing with you guys is whenever I see that we have a lot of dumpsters on the yard, and they're not going, I see them for a couple of days here. I come into my dispatchers and ask how many dumpsters, how busy are we, how many jobs we have, and they, we're lower than I would want to be. Then I spend more. So, for example, if we do spend $300, $400, $500 on a regular day, I increase it to $1,000, maybe even $1,500 a day, and that's when we really see the results and the calls start coming in and dumpsters start basically flying off the shelf super fast. Do you see that a lot of other companies that do that too, or?
Yeah, and one of the things that you got to be careful with that strategy, and it's a good strategy. Ideally, you actually can look ahead. So instead of physically seeing dumpsters on the yard, you've got something set up. And I think you're going to want to talk about AI later in this. You can actually set it up where AI is analyzing your schedule and it'll recognize those gaps before. Now, the other thing you can do is sit there and look at your schedule and say, hey, these bins are going to be rolling back into my shop, my yard in the next couple days. Let's try and lead that before they all show up and they start piling up in my yard. Let's raise the spend up a few days in advance, and then let's equal that cycle out. Because what otherwise happens is you get these ups and downs, which is pretty common in business. When you've got plenty of sales coming in, you focus on operations, and all of a sudden you get caught up on operations, but your sales falls behind. So by doing that, that allows you to get a little bit ahead. And then obviously you want to be thinking about it from the aspect of, hey, when I turn this up, if I'm seeing this come in and it's profitable for me, maybe let's see if we can analyze and we can get some more bins or more trucks or whatever we need so we can kind of keep that spend up.
So that's an interesting point you brought up, that we do sort of know, we have the data to where we know when majority of those dumpsters coming in. We never analyzed it, right? We never actually dug into it.
This is the first time I think about it. I'm like, how this is exactly what this podcast is for. I was like, oh, how did we not think about it before? And we even learn every day. But we do have a data that shows us final pickups. And if suddenly you have 16 final pickups this week, crank it up. Don't even bring them back to the yard. Just dump them.
I mean, every trip is costing you money.
Every trip costs you money, especially when you're empty with no customer address. If you're empty and your final address is the yard, you lost money. Well, you didn't make money. So yeah, you want to be ahead of the curve, like Lee said. And I'm not sure if you have any AI tools that we can utilize. If not, it's just good old brains. Just sit and look at spreadsheets all day.
We've got a team in the back end that's building out stuff for us on the AI side of things. And I think we just uncovered something that we need to do. So, because part of me is like, you guys made the comment, why didn't you think about it? But I'm like, why haven't we kind of communicated that over as well? So it's good information that we've uncovered there, I think.
So with the AI in the picture, what are you guys working on? What's the next step? What are you guys doing to improve the sales for the companies like ours?
Yeah, the hard thing with AI is there is so much possibility. So it's trying to select the things that you have, that you want to work on. And it is fast to get it most of the way. So what you find when you're doing these AI projects is you'll get it 80% of the way there, and that final 20% is very tedious. And that's when oftentimes it's hard to get AI to bring it across the finish line. It's getting better. But to answer your question, a lot of it's on the conversion side of things. And when I talk about conversion, that basically means when people come to your marketing and they come to your website, we want to get them to contact you, and we want you to have the ability to be able to field a call and book the dumpster. So when I talk about that, there's ways you can lay out websites, and there's offers that can be done on websites that are will increase that conversion rate tremendously. And in the past, a lot of times you would update a site very infrequently, but it's a lot easier to do that now with AI. So we've constructed sites that are going to start rolling out, I'd say within the first one actually is going to launch Wednesday. And then we're going to be measuring the effectiveness of that and how well it converts compared to what we had before. And then we're going to set up where there's always going to be like a challenge going on. So like 50% of the traffic is going to go to one version and 50% is going to go to another. The winner, after a certain amount of data, will then be the one that shows, and we'll have kind of a new one that comes up. I won't say that's going to run 100% of the time, but pretty often we're going to have that up, and over time that conversion rate will come up. So that's one thing. The second thing is, I don't know if you guys have this issue, but a lot of dumpster rental companies and junk removal companies do. And that's just answering calls, because these calls come in clusters. So we are building out an AI voice agent that we expect to be coming out soon, with the intention of initially for it to handle missed calls and after hours calls, not to replace the humans that you've actually got answering the phones. We don't expect that it's going to book as good as a good a person answering the phone right now.
A live agent.
But we do think it's going to book a lot better than the call getting missed
Of course.
and going to a competitor. And over time, the technology behind those voice agents are getting a lot better. So those are two areas we're really focused on. And now we've been involved for over a year in the background on doing things to utilize AI as well and automation on the Google Ads side of things. And there's a lot to do there. But I guess the easiest way to kind of point that out is when you're doing a Google Ads campaign for a dumpster rental company, there are things you'd love to be able to do in the background that simply weren't possible because otherwise the management fee would have to be way too high. Well, now because of AI, and AI is just so good at looking at this information and analyzing it, it can be running in the background all the time. So we're getting so much better data to be able to make decisions. So that's been a big advantage. And then from the SEO side of things, content creation is so much easier now. So when you look at Google Maps, there's things you can do. You can figure out where you have gaps and where you're not ranking. You can create specific types of pages. That's much faster now to do, and it's a lot easier to also kind of quality control stuff. So to answer your question, all of those things add up into more traffic to your site, hopefully at a lower cost than before, and you convert at a higher rate. So even if it takes the same amount of traffic between the website and the call agent, it should convert at a higher rate. And then on the ad side, it helps us really hone in on the profitable customers and kind of find areas of opportunity that was much harder to find before.
So did I hear you correct? We're going to be spending less on Google Ads?
Well, the idea is you spend the same on Google Ads, but you get more customers. But if you look at it, we want to make it more efficient. Now, keep in mind, we're not the only people doing this. I think we do it well, and I think we're early on. But that's the whole thing with AI that I'm trying to tell people right now. AI is going to raise the bar. There's doom and gloomers out there that say it's going to replace half the workforce and all kinds of stuff. And there are going to be some people that get let go and moved around here for really basic entry level jobs. But the main thing that's going to happen is I don't know if it's going to make our lives easier, because I think we're going to have to be just moving much more faster and consistently improving things, because the tools are available. It's just like anything before. You got to take the tools you have available, and whoever utilizes those tools best are who's going to win in business.
Productivity will just go up. The one person that works 8 hours and produces this much can now work 8 hours and produce this much. That's just one person. With AI, instead of having to type everything, the AI will type it for you, and all you have to do is just check the columns to make sure that it captured the voice, the text to voice properly, and make the corrections and just launch it. I would say like approval human approval. But I like the after hours answering, or missed call answering. Even in the restaurant business, every restaurant that you call now,
Yeah. So yeah,
you wanna book a table. It's an AI agent, and it's so seamless. It's so much easier than even waiting for a human to answer. And with all the noise in the background of the restaurant, they're trying to get your last name, your first name, how many people. It's so much faster. So I can only imagine what it will do to the waste industry. Maybe not to book new jobs, but to service current clients. Hey, you have a dumpster. You need a swap. Hey, what's up? I need a swap tomorrow.
optimize it. Yep.
Preferably before 12 p.m. Thank you, goodbye. That's it. It's done. It's in the system. Somebody approves it on the back end. That's it. So
Yep.
AI will definitely revolutionize it. AI will revolutionize every industry. It will not revamp it. It will not change it, but it will just make it more efficient. Dumpster rental companies that did $10 million in revenue with $2 million in employee expenses will have more money with the same employees, period. That's just how it is. But to recap what you said, Google Ads take about 60 to 90 days to kick in until you and the algorithm understands that current market and the customer needs. SEO, you guys build the website pretty much from scratch with whatever the customer wants. You guys have some packages that have more options, less options for it, I know. And combining it with SEO takes a few months until you actually show. Can you tell me, is there a tool up there that can show you what your ranking is in a certain market with your current website address?
Yeah, especially on the Google Maps listing, and there is for the regular organic stuff too. It can just be a little harder to read, but the Google Maps listing, those heat maps are really impactful because it's just a graph. It shows your service area and it shows little dots. Then it shows whether you rank 1, 2, 3, 4, or 10 or whatever within that small little zone. And when I'm talking about a little zone, it can be a quarter mile. It's like a little quarter mile zone, and you have a bunch of these on your maps. We use a tool ourselves that is a paid software, but I think if you just go on Google and you can type in Google Maps heat map tool, I think
Heat
there's some
map.
free options out there on a limited basis. So if you just kind of want to do a quick check and see where you come up, I
So you
believe
can see your
those are
progress after 6 months with JRA. You can see, hey, JRA took me from 12th place to 3rd place.
Yeah, and I mean, ideally, it's a lot faster than that. I mean, we shoot for nowadays when somebody first comes on. Again, as long as they've been open for at least 6 months and they have those initial reviews, then I mean, we're hoping to see measurable improvement within 2 to 4 weeks.
Oh, wow. I remember it took a bit longer for us to get the
It was
results,
slower. Yeah, I don't think we were as
even
good
with
back
you,
then.
but I can
So
tell you from my personal experience, just like we had an episode about insurance, you don't want to just go to Progressive, that's a blanket insurance for everybody, and they'll just give you a really, really high price for the same product, and it's not going to work well for you in the long run. You want to have somebody that's industry specific, just like we had Kelly White for the insurance, JRAs for the dumpster rental, because there's a lot of companies out there that do SEO and Google Ads, and they're great for what they do, but they don't have that extra 5-10% knowledge, experience, and actual working at it like JRA does. So finding somebody, JRA or somebody very similar in your market to help you with that specific SEO Google Ads, I think that's a major boost. It took us 3 to 4 months until we realized the first company did not work well, because we literally did not see any results. Our revenue was still the same with more expenses. And with JRA, I think it took a couple of months until they figured out the Atlanta market. So you have to have some patience and understand that they're doing their best and trying to figure out and crack that nut in your market. Every market is a bit different. I
Yep.
know Atlanta is super competitive. Like sometimes you have to spend $40-$50
For a call.
for a call or a click,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it's less. And other markets like, I don't know, Buffalo, New York, probably not as much competition, and you only spend $10. and get even better results. So
But you guys do have an idea. So if somebody calls you, asks you, listen,
they
we're
have
there.
the tools. Yeah, they have the
uh,
tools.
and how can you check how much competition we have and what kind of results we can see within a certain period of time? You guys can give them an idea.
Yeah, we give them an idea because we worked with companies kind of all over. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, if we have people, if somebody contacts us in San Francisco and they want to spend $50 a day, it's like there's no reason for you to do that. You're going to need to be 250, 300 a day. So, but if they contact us somewhere in, you mentioned Waco, Texas, $100 a day, it's probably going to get you pretty far. And we're able to kind of provide that information. And in terms of how long it takes with an agency, if you're going to switch to a different marketing company, I think the 4 month range, that 120 days, it needs to be, hey, we're going to try this for 120 days and see how this how it goes. Just so long as you're getting good, consistent communication, and they're meeting at least the expectations of communicating with you that you had before, and you're seeing some of the work get done. The site was executed and those things are going pretty smoothly. As long as that's going on and you feel good about it, then I would encourage people to stay. We've turned people away before and said, hey, give your existing agency a little bit of time before you switch to us, because they'll come to us after they've been with somebody for 2 weeks or 30 days, and we'll ask, are they communicating with you? Have they just ghosted you or what? And as long as that's not the case, it's like, hey, you got to give them a little bit of time here before you come to us, because what we know is if they only gave that company 2 weeks, they're probably only going to give us 2 weeks, and there's not a whole lot we can do in a 2 week time frame. I mentioned the Google Maps listing can take 2 to 4 weeks, but there's other parts of that. The Google Ads is not. That's several months, and the regular organic SEO generally isn't either.
Okay, well, thank you for answering a bunch of our questions.
I know, right?
I have more questions, but we're not going to do it in this episode. I'll probably call you to discuss those. But we definitely should do something for our viewers live.
A webinar.
Webinar, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which platform, but we'll set it up and we'll post a date.
Yeah, we'll post this at the comments below, and we'll have Lee and JRA's information there. So if you have questions, if you want to ask about our experience with them, you can contact us, or you can contact them directly so they can explain to you how they do and what they do, what it costs, and what kind of results you should expect. We'll have one episode coming up that shows WG actual numbers for 3 years, so you can see how Google Ads really impacted our revenue. We're a first-hand result to that effort that JRA did. And we appreciate all the hard work you guys did on the Google accounts that we have.
Guys, if anybody got any questions about the Google Ads, SEO, website, advertising, marketing for your company, go to JRA.com. You can reach out to them by email or by phone number on the website. Just tell them you're from Waze Guys, and they will provide a consultation for you, and hopefully they will do as good of a job as they do for us.
Thank you for watching another episode of The Waze Guys. This episode was about SEO, Google Ads, and we had Lee here with JRA that gave us a lot of information. Like and subscribe to our channel. Lee, thank you very much for your time today and for your expertise, and we appreciate everything you do for us.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Waze Guys. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.